Welcome to this video with me, Kilda, and welcome to the Château de Béduer. I'm currently in the Great Hall. Today, I'd love you to join me for some foraging in the grounds of the chateau. We're going to look for some beautiful winter foliage, some scented herbs and berries and leaves. Use what you have readily available to you and just get creative, enjoy yourself and really celebrate this winter foliage. A nature-inspired winter wreath. I love this corkscrew hazel. It's got these gorgeous, twisty, curly branches. So I'd love to cut some of this for my winter wreath. And look, there's even some hazelnuts here that the squirrels haven't found yet. Maybe that's going to be Christmas dinner. So this skimmia shrub at this time of the year is a winter flowering shrub. It's just about to flower. And you can see these just got this gorgeous pinky red colour. So I think that's going to be really pretty in the wreath and give some really lovely texture. So I'm going to cut some of these. So welcome to the Château de Béduer, and today we're going to be making a winter wreath to decorate your homes this Christmas. So we've been out foraging in the chateau grounds, we've collected some beautiful things. I brought some extra treasures from my place too, but we collected from here, we've got some gorgeous rosemary, which is going to smell gorgeous. We have bay leaf, which is going to bring that wonderful scent as well. It also has these beautiful little fruits on it. We cut some magnolia, which has these beautiful big glossy leaves. I'm going to try and integrate those into our wreath. And I also have some gorgeous dried orange sections and some pine cones that we can add towards the end. So let's get started. We're going to start off with this metal support, which you should be able to get in most craft stores. There are various different sizes. I think this is 23 centimetre. And I'm also, I've got this little wire bobbin. I think this wire is about 18 gauge. So the first thing we're going to do is attach our wire to our wreath support. I'm just going to push that through one of the rings and just twist it. So like a little twist, like that, to secure it. So this wire bobbin, we're going to use it to wrap around the support as we go along, and it's going to secure all of our foliage to our metal support. So I'm going to place that down like that. So the way we're going to build this is we're going to do a series of little bouquets, like mini bouquets of using this winter foliage. So I'm going to take a piece of the bay and a piece of the holly and just build it up in layers. So I'm going to move the holly because we can't see the berries. So I'm going to put the rosemary, because it's quite tall, I'm going to put that at the back. And the bay in front. And then I'm going to put the holly at the front so we can see the berries. So I have this kind of flat little bouquet, and I'm going to place that onto the metal support. Place it flat next to the wire where my wire is secured, and then I'm just going to bring this over the top and through the middle and put it back out the other side. And I'm just going to give it a little pull and make sure I've really got that tension. Don't want to squeeze it too hard because I don't want to change the shape of the wire ring, but just pulling it so that I know it's really holding that foliage. And I'm going to go around another time, maybe even a third time just to be sure. Okay, then I'm going to place that back down, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to create a little composition, like a little bouquet of all these beautiful things. So I've made a similar little bouquet. It doesn't have to be the same every time. I'm going to start introducing some different types of foliage, but I'm just going to double these up. And I'm going to place it onto the wreath support, very snug up close to the first bouquet that we laid down, but at a slight angle. So if I take that away, it's a bit of a 45-degree angle, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to pick up the wire and I'm going to just get it in between some of those leaves, put it through the middle and back up. And I'm going to go through again just to make sure that's really secure. Okay. And I think this time of year, all the foliage that we're working with, is lots of greens, so we have a much more reduced colour palette than we have in spring and summer. But when we have working with lots of greens, what we do is really focus on the texture to make it interesting and create that contrast. So already you can see those two different shapes and colours are really working well together. And I'd also like to bring in some of the really gorgeous corkscrew hazel with its little catkins. So that's just going to make really lovely little twisty, wiry parts. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to kind of angle it the opposite direction to the last bunch that I added. I'm going to bring the wire back on through. So already you can start to see it coming together. And you'll notice that I'm always adding the bunches of foliage so that they're in the same direction, facing the same direction. You don't have to do that, that's just a personal choice, but I feel like when your wreath starts to get lovely and full, it just gives it a lovely movement and makes it feel much more sort of cohesive. Now I think I'm going to switch to I'm going to use some of this lovely skimmia with its red sort of flower heads that are almost in bloom. I'm going to try some of this olive branch that I brought from home. And it sort of seems like a bit of an unlikely choice for a Christmas wreath, but it's really, I just love the colour and I love the underside of the leaf. It's got this sort of silvery texture to it. And again, the shape of the leaf is really contrasting against everything else that we're working with. So it just brings a little kind of unexpected element, which I think is really nice. Let's keep going. I think I'm going to go back to the bay and the holly that I started with at the beginning. And it's quite nice to get the sort of repeating pattern going through. But there are no rules. You can put exactly what you feel like putting in. And you may have been out foraging around where you live and you may have found some completely different foliage. I'd love to see some of your creations and see what you've been able to find from your local area. So let's lift it up and have a look, see how we're getting on so far. So what's nice sometimes as well is to just hold it a bit away from you and see what it's looking like from a distance. Quite pleased with that, it's got good movement. See how it's coming together. Are there any gaps? Are there any places that you've forgotten to put something in, or there's need to fill in? I'm pretty pleased with how it's coming along. I'm going to keep going. I'm also going to try to integrate some of this glossy magnolia back, like that. It's also got this really lovely colour, rusty colour on the underside of the leaves, which is going to bring a bit more colour into my wreath. So whenever you're making something, there's always a certain amount of trial and error. It's really good to allow yourself that, you know, if something's not feeling right or not quite working, just change it, see what you can do differently. I'm a big advocate for that, just playing around and editing, changing things. This wreath really smells good right now. Got all these herbs and the pine, so Christmassy. Often you can go to wherever they're selling Christmas trees and ask them if you can have the offcuts. Often when the Christmas trees is delivered, they strip down the lower branches to make the trunk cleaner, and sometimes they'll just give you the offcuts. So that's worth trying if you're not able to sort of forage in nature too much if you live in a city. Otherwise, you can always go to your local florist and see what they have available. Ivy is a really kind of readily available plant. It tends to grow on walls and even in urban places. So that's something that might be readily available for you. Again, so I'm just placing them quite snug up next to each other, but at a slight angle, so they're sort of alternating, so that you're kind of filling in the gaps. Let's have a look, see how we're getting on. It's coming together. I'm not too worried about colour because I know that I can add some colour in afterwards with ribbons and oranges and things, but those holly berries are just sort of, there's nothing else quite like them, is there? It's kind of iconic Christmas. Okay, so as we come to the joining point, where we're joining up with the first bundle that we laid, it gets a bit tight for space in there, so you're going to lift up the last bundle where that space is in between and just tuck them in. Yeah, I'm not quite there. I think I'm going to have to add one more. Okay, so I don't know if you can see. I'm going to try and lift it up for you. We almost can't see this last space, so I'm just going to have to just lift up this one so that I can tuck my last bunch into there. Be careful, the holly is prickling me. And then to get the wire in the same, you just have to kind of wriggle your way in there and find a space. Okay. Give that a little pull. I'm going to lift it up, make sure nothing is falling off. Okay, great. So with my wire, I'm just going to give myself a bit of length, unwind a bit of length and trim that. Put that down. I've given myself a lot of length, so I'm probably going to just come around one more time. Remember keeping that tension, keeping it nice and tight, and coming to the back. And then where I've got all these stems sticking out, I'm just going to wind the wire around those a couple of times. Again, nice and tight and secure so it's not going to move. There we go. pretty pleased with how that's looking. A nice full green winter wreath. And I'm just now going to add in some finishing touches. So I've got some pine cones here, and I'm going to take my wire, give myself a nice long bit of length, snip that, and then I'm just going to find the midway point on the wire and just sort of tuck it into the bottom of the pine cone. And I'm going to just twist the wire so that now it's really attached to the wire, and I've got these two lengths that are going to allow me to attach it to the wreath. So I'm going to have a little look. Where do I think? I think maybe I'm going to nestle one in there. So you just place it, and then your two lengths of wire will come round the back and just pull it nice and tight and just twist them round. Okay? And then you can just sort of tuck them in. Okay, so when I'm adding in the details, I quite like to do things in odd numbers and have things that aren't too symmetrical. So you can see I've put these two pine cones here. So I'm going to do a sort of triangular shape and put the other one down here somewhere. But again, that's entirely personal taste. And the reason I sort of avoid symmetry is because it just feels a bit less wild and a bit less natural. And if any of you have met me before at classes, flower arranging classes at the Chateau, you'll know that I'm all about wild and natural. I think I'm going to try and introduce some of these rose hips, just to get some of that red colour. So I'm just going to trim that stem down. I'm hoping that because I've got so much foliage on here, the idea is that I should just be able to kind of poke that in, like that, and that should stay. I'm just going to trim it a bit at the back. Okay, now for these gorgeous oranges that smell so Christmassy as well. So again, I like to work in threes. I'm going to attach these three segments. So rather than sort of placing them flat onto the wreath, like that, I like to sort of angle them. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you take, I've given myself a nice long piece of wire, and I'm just going to thread that wire through the orange, but at the edge, close to the rind. And then the same with the second one. These oranges are dehydrated, so they're quite firm. So you should be able to just poke your wire through the orange. There we go. Roughly find the midway point. And then they just kind of open out into this pretty little trio. And I'm just going to do that twist, the same twist we did with the pine cones, just to sort of stop them sliding around. So, where am I going to put these? I think I'm going to put some in there. So again, I've given myself lots of nice length so that I can come around the back and just secure that by twisting the two sides together. So you can use whatever you feel inspired to use as your sort of finishing details. You can use berries, you could use dried fruit. I've seen dried apple slices as well, which are really pretty. Pine cones, acorns, whatever you have readily available to you. Whatever inspires you. You may also like to use ribbons. You might like to put a bow hanging from the wreath in different colours. Doesn't have to be in green or red. You could go for orange or kind of a nice, beautiful, naturally dyed ribbon. Or if you like someone who likes sparkles, you could go for a sparkly ribbon. Lastly, to hang your wreath, You're going to take some, you could use ribbon, you could use natural twine, whatever you have available, whatever feels fitting for your wreath. Let's get a nice length and just double it up, make it into a loop like this. And then the loop end, just going to come to the back of the wreath and just find one of these metal edges and just poke that loop end. Find a space in between all those branches. Poke the loop end through that metal base. And then when you've got this loop, you pass the two tail ends through. There we go. And then when you know what length you need, I just tie a knot into that end. If your wreath is going to go indoors, try to avoid putting it anywhere too warm, like above a fireplace or anywhere where there's a sort of direct source of heat, because it will dry out really quickly. You can counterbalance that by misting it with water regularly, or ideally you would put it in a slightly cooler place. The ideal thing is to put them on the door outside of the house, so when people arrive at the house they're greeted with this beautiful, wild, natural arrangement. So if it's outdoors, it's going to last a lot longer because the elements are going to keep it fresh. Yeah, celebrate what nature is offering us at this time of year. And really get into the Christmas spirit, which for me it's about family and it's about good food and getting together. But for me, it's also very much about nature and really celebrating the season, and that's why it's lovely to bring nature indoors, make a wreath, make a fireplace swag, put some greenery on the table at Christmas dinner or at Thanksgiving, and just really celebrate what nature offers us. Let it inspire you. Go!